Today we're going to be taking a look at the Crown 4 Kit by UWELL. This product was sent to me for the purpose of this review by a company called SourceMore. Let's go ahead, open up the kit, and see what it contains. When you first open up your Crown 4 Kit box, you're going to find a couple pieces of paper here. You're going to have a battery warning card, an additional warning card, and the Crown 4 Kit user manual. Inside of the box, you're going to have the Crown 4 mod. The color that I have mine in is going to be called the Silver Checkmate. You're also going to have the Crown 4 sub-ohm tank. You will also receive a spare bubble glass and this little silicone drip tip protector that goes over top of your drip tip to keep dust out. Inside of that little black accessory box, you are going to have a micro USB charging and upgrading cable. A little spare plastic bag that's going to have some spare grommets and O-rings for the tank, and a spare mesh UWELL sub-ohm tank coil. First up is going to be the Crown 4 tank. Now this Crown 4 tank is quite a tall and big tank. It is going to be 25.7 millimeters in diameter with an overall height of 54.8 millimeters. It does have a 510 drip tip here on the top. To fill this tank, you're simply going to give it a small turn counterclockwise, and that's going to unlock the cap, and the cap is going to pop off. There is no real threading on this top cap. It's actually held in by these little notches that lock in here on the chimney of the sub-ohm tank. So you're going to place it in there, line up those notches, and give it a tiny little turn clockwise, and that's going to lock it down. And one thing that I did find is you gotta make sure you get those notches in correctly, otherwise the cap will not lock down. So let's line up those notches, give it a turn clockwise, and then it's locked on. Now it is a very tiny turn. It's not a half turn, it's not a full turn. It's like a quarter turn to lock it in, and then a quarter turn to unlock it. So that's how you remove the top cap to fill it. And then you have these 4 very large fill holes all the way around the tank there that you can fill the tank with e-liquid. The capacity on this tank is going to be 5 mLs and 6 mLs with the bubble glass. So the straight glass is 5 mLs and capacity with the bubble glass is going to be 6 mLs. Down here at the bottom we do have tri-airflow slots, and the airflow ring is a little bit stiff, but it is on a stopper, and of course whatever you adjust on one side, it will adjust on the other 2 sides. To go ahead and remove the base to be able to install or remove a coil, you'll simply turn the base counterclockwise, and there is the bottom of our coil, and we can just go ahead and give that a little pull. So the coil appears to be held on by O-rings in there, but I can't really get my fingers on it. There we go. So using a tool, I was able to grab a hold of that coil. So here the coil that is pre-installed is a standard round wire coil. Now it does state in the coil specifications that you do have a dual stainless steel 904L coil, which is a 0.2 ohm. A dual stainless steel 904L coil, which is a 4 ohm, and the stainless steel 304 UN1 coil, which is a 0.25 ohm. So looking at this coil here, it looks like it's the 0.4 stainless steel 904L, and the spare coil that was included is the 0.2 ohm 904L stainless steel material. So as with any sub-ohm tank, the first thing I like to do is prime that coil head by putting a few drops of e-liquid down the top, and then putting a few drops of e-liquid on each wicking port, just to make sure that that coil is fully saturated when I install it. To install the coil, I'm simply going to take the barrel here, and I'm just going to place the coil upside down and push down so those rubber O-rings around it seal in. Go ahead and grab my base. So here is the base. You can see these 2 little tabby things there at the bottom. Not really sure where those lock in at, since this is round and those have little tabs, but we are going to go ahead and just take and spin this clockwise. It threads on, so that should allow the coil to seat in there, and I can feel it as it comes down onto those O-rings. I can kind of feel it sealing up there. So there we've got the base completely screwed down nice and tight. And now we can go ahead and fill the tank. So nice big fill holes, very easy to fill this tank, no problem, it's very quick. Now let's go ahead and try to put this little cap back on again, and it should push down to the point where it locks over those tabs. So we're going to just line up those little tabs, push down, and turn and see if it, there we go. Okay, I finally got it to turn 90 degrees. I think the problem that I was having was the base was not screwed on fully, and maybe that coil in there wasn't sitting quite right. So because the base wasn't screwed down fully, I wasn't able to push that top cap down all the way. So now that I did reassemble it and everything, that top cap is definitely locked on. When using this tank, make sure you're pushing down and giving it a turn, and if it's not turning 90 degrees, keep trying until it turns 90 degrees. So that is the Crown 4 sub-ohm tank. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Crown 4 mod next. Okay, so here is the Crown 4 mod. Here's one side and then the other side. Taking a look at from the top, you have this very large stainless steel 510 plate. Inside down there, you do have a very nice spring-loaded 510 pin, and it does have quite a deep thread on there. So I'm expecting that the 510 pin itself doesn't have a lot of travel just because of how deep that threading is on there. Let's go ahead and test that. And yeah, it's got quite a bit of travel actually, so you're probably not going to have any problems with any atomizers as far as the 510 goes on this. Now you will have some problems as far as the size and diameter of atomizers that are going to sit flush on this mod. As you can see, that 510 plate is like a little bit raised and bumped out. So the maximum size you're going to be able to get on this without any overhang is going to be 25 millimeters. And anything bigger than 25 millimeters, you may find some slight overhang around these edges here, since that is a raised 510. So flipping over to look at the bottom, you do have some battery ventilation. Flipping over to the back, you can see there is a little notch cut out here on the panel. That's going to be for your 18650 batteries. This is a dual 18650 battery mod. Here we have a little battery ribbon. You do have spring-loaded contacts at the top. You have this in series. It is positive up on this side and negative up on this side. The door is held on by these three very big magnets. Let's go ahead and push the door back on. The door feels solid. I don't feel any rattle. Hold on just a minute. My battery ribbon got stuck in there. Make sure the battery ribbon is not stuck in the door. That way I can check it accurately there. So without batteries installed, the door has no play whatsoever. It doesn't move at all. Flipping it over to the front, you have this nice large fire button. And the fire button is fairly clicky there. It does have a little bit of mush to it, but it doesn't feel too bad. It does have a nice click to it. Here you have your OLED screen. Below the OLED screen, you're going to have these two little squares, which is going to be your plus and your minus, or your up and your down button. And below that, you are going to have a micro USB port there. So let's go ahead and install some batteries. Whenever you install batteries on a spring-loaded sled like this, always make sure to put the end of the battery at the spring-loaded contact first. So on this side, we're going to do positive up, and we're going to push in and then push down. And that's to make sure that you don't tear your wraps, and also so that your batteries fit in there more smoothly. Go ahead and fold that back over. And the mod automatically powers on. Let's go ahead and remove this little spring protector film there. So the wattage range on this device is going to be anything from 5 watts up to 200 watts. Looking at the screen, you do have a really nice bright screen. At the very top here on the left, you have your seconds, which is going to be how long you're holding the fire button. Below that, you do have power. That's the mode that we're currently in. Then there in the center, we do have our wattage. Then to the right, at the very top, you do have a percentage battery readout, as well as 2 battery bar indicators. Here in the right center, you're going to have your voltage readout, and then below that you are going to have your resistance readout. To power the device off or on, you're going to do 5 clicks of the fire button. It's going to say goodbye. 5 clicks to turn it back on. And then it's going to flash UWELL and go right into your main screen. If you wish to flip your screen, let's say you're a right-handed or left-handed vapor and you want the screen facing the opposite direction, you'll simply hold the plus and the minus buttons at the same time for 2 seconds, and that will flip your screen. And we can go ahead and flip that back again. So if you wish to lock your device, you do have 2 different button configurations here for that. You can hit the minus and the power button at the same time, and that's going to lock everything, or you can hold the plus and the fire button and that will lock everything. So let's hold the plus and the fire button, and that's going to lock it, and it shows plus and minus, so we can unlock it that way. So if you hold the plus and the fire button, it's just going to lock your plus and minus buttons. If you hold the minus button and the fire button, it's going to lock everything. So you can't fire or change the wattage on the device. If you want to change the mode that you're in, power or temperature control, it's 3 clicks of the fire button, and then that's going to flash. And you can toggle through the different options. You have TCR, you have stainless steel 904, and then back to power. So stainless steel 904, very few mods do this, and I want to thank a good friend, Kelly Kell, who pointed out to me that the coils that they include are stainless steel 904, so you absolutely can use this sub-ohm tank in temperature control mode, and I think that's really neat that they did that they used the 904 not only in the coils, but they also offer stainless steel 904 temperature control mode. So I will definitely be trying this out in temperature control, since that's its capability, and the sub-ohm tank coils do come in that metal. So to adjust your temperature when you're in temperature control mode, you're just going to simply push the plus and minus button. It goes from 100 degrees Celsius, and you hold that, and it will go all the way up to 315 degrees Celsius. If you click the plus again, it will round robin into Fahrenheit, so you can get to, starts out at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and then if you hold that, it's going to go all the way up to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, and then of course click it again, and it will round robin. So also when you click the fire button 3 times, you select your metal. The next thing that will be blinking is your power. So I waited too long there. Let's go back into that. So now our metal's blinking. We can click the fire button to set that, and now our power is blinking, and we can adjust the power and set the power there. So there's our wattage, and if we push the fire button again, that locks the wattage in, and now we can adjust our temperature. Additionally, to lock in the resistance on this, you're going to hold the plus and the minus, and that will lock in the resistance of your coil. So really, that's pretty much all there is to the menu. Of course, in the TCR, that's where you can go to set your custom metal, and there's a few more little sub things there, but I'm not going to go into that since this is sold as a sub-ohm tank kit. That's as far as I'm going to go into the menu, guys. Let's go ahead and screw down our sub-ohm tank onto the mod. And that is the UWELL Crown 4 kit. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. Alright, and that was an up-close look at the Crown 4 kit. So what are my thoughts? Well, we'll start with the tank first, and we're going to start with the pros. First pro on this tank is going to be the fit and finish. While I did have a little bit of trouble getting that top cap on for the first couple times, now that I've gotten it down and I know how much pressure I need to turn that cap, it's no problem doing the 90-degree turn to get the cap to stay on. The capacity on this, it's got great capacity on the tank, lots of capacity for your e-liquid, and you're definitely going to need it for this tank because this tank goes through e-liquid quite fast. The next pro on it is going to be the airflow. It's got tons of airflow. Now let's talk about the coils. So the coils that I have to use are the coils that came in the kit. Unfortunately, in the kit, they only give you one type of coil for both the coil installed and the spare coil, and that's the stainless steel 309 simple round wire coil. So that's what I've had to work with. Now there are aftermarket mesh coils that they did make for the Crown before. So again, like I said, I can only go on the coils that I have tried. I have heard a lot of people really like the mesh coils that they offer for this tank as well. So the coils that are included, the round wire coils, they work great. I get good flavor and I get good vapor production. Additionally, what is nice is because they are made of stainless steel, they have a specific temperature control setting in the mod that if you buy it as a kit, the mod has temperature control for that stainless steel. Now, the stainless steel temperature control on a sub-ohm tank is kind of lost on me, and that's because typically I use temperature control to prevent dry hits. It makes sure that if I forget to drip on an RDA and I hit my mod, the temperature control kicks in and doesn't allow me to vape my cotton dry to the point where it burns. With a sub-ohm tank, you kind of already know when you need to refill your tank. You're going to be visually looking at it and seeing that you need to fill it up. So you don't really experience a lot of dry hits on a sub-ohm tank. But it does do well for regulating the temperature if you're somebody that chain vapes. I'm a chain vapor. I'm somebody that'll hit my mod, you know, anywhere from 5 to 15 times consecutively and sit it down. Well, when you're doing that with the coil head, the metal continually heats up hotter when you're vaping in power mode. If you're vaping this in temperature control, it's going to give you a more consistent heat level. So you're not going to be spiking up your heat and then dropping down and spiking up. It's always going to stop you at whatever temperature that you set in the mod. So that's really nice. And I have used it both in temperature control and power mode. And I think the coil performs just as well in either mode. It's just really something that you would do to taste. If you're somebody that likes temperature control, the mod that this comes with is compatible with temperature control with the stainless steel coil heads that they include. Now, talking a little bit more about the coil heads, there is one thing I noticed with these coil heads, and that's that they do have a break-in time, and it kind of a long break-in time. It used to be having to vape an entire tank full of juice was just what you had to do to break in your coil head. But a lot of coil heads nowadays, you don't have to do that anymore. It's usually a couple puffs and the cotton is broken in. This one, these coil heads have a lot of cotton in them. And because of that, I think that's what lends itself to having a longer break-in time. So for these coil heads, I get a real cottony taste for the first tank full. After I finish that tank full and I refill my tank, I notice that that cotton flavor has gone and the coil head is essentially broken in. So that's just something to be aware of with the round wire coils that I notice is that they do have a bit longer break-in time. The airflow on this tank is really nice and airy. I'll go ahead and let you listen to that wide open right now. So there it is, wide open, plenty of flavor, lots of vapor production, no restriction whatsoever. Now it does have a hollow sound like most sub-ohm tanks nowadays have. It has that very hollow sound, but it doesn't feel turbulent or anything when I'm vaping it. I'm going to go ahead and cut it down to halfway so you can listen to what that sounds like. So there it is, cut down about halfway, and that's kind of where I like it because it bumps up the flavor even more and makes the vapor just a little bit denser, and I like a more restricted direct-to-lung vape. Now let's talk about the mod. I really like this mod. It's quite simplistic. The screen on it is nice and bright and easy to read, and I've got all of the information that I would want to see when vaping. I've got my wattage, the seconds I'm vaping, the resistance, the voltage, and my battery readout and what mode I'm in. That's all I really need to see on my screen, and I'm one of them people that I like simplistic screens. I don't mind these kind of old school looking screens. So I really like the screen. The fire button is really nice and clicky and responsive. Both the plus and the minus are very clicky and responsive, and no button rattle. The door doesn't move at all. So this mod right here for me is everything that I want in a mod. It's comfortable in the hand. It's comfortable whether you're thumb firing or finger firing. Because of its shape, it's comfortable in both the right or the left hand. I really don't have any cons about the Crown 4 mod at all. It's been really great. Also, I wanted to mention that the battery life on this, I'm using 2 single 18650 batteries, and of course your battery life is going to be affected by what kind of batteries you are using. So for this mod, I've been using the VTC 5A batteries, and something that I noticed that it does really good on battery life. I am able to vape this on 1 pair of batteries pretty much the entire day. Usually at the end of the day, I'm taking my batteries out, putting them on a charger, charging them up, and putting new batteries in as I go to bed. So essentially 2 batteries last me the entire day, and the mod feels nice and weighty. It feels good and sturdy, and I've actually already dropped this one twice, and the worst that happened was the door flew off, but I have no dings or scuffs or scratches in the paint finish or in the panels yet, so that's really good. So that's my thoughts on the Crown 4 kit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.